Reading always hasn't been part of my life. I used to hate sitting down and staying still. And when it came down to reading, that is something I absolutely didn't want to do. This all ended up changing as I was given a summer reading list going into my 6th grade. This moment has fundamentally changed me as a human and has built foundations on what I want to do with my life. Hello, my name is Frank. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'll go over the top 3 most influential books in my life. The first book is James and the Giant Peach by Roald Dahl. I don't have a physical cover, but I think this should be it. Yep, this is a little image of what the book title or book cover looks like. So this book is typically recommended to students between 3rd and 5th grade, I believe. Yep. And I was in 6th grade when I first picked this book up. This is due to the fact that English was my second language, and I was already kind of behind in my reading level or reading comprehension stuff. So this is a little bit intimidating for me, but I think what kind of eased me into reading this book was the title cover. The first time looking at the title cover, I saw James kind of sitting on the peach. The peach tends to be like 10 times bigger than the little boy that's sitting on top of it. And then there's these weird, bizarre creatures kind of surrounding him or with him, I guess. Yeah, that just kind of seeing or having that first impression of the book cover and then the book and then seeing these weird creatures around him, that definitely intrigued my interest. And I was very much so interested in reading this book. And then as the pages turned, I was fascinated and totally immersed by the world building of this book. It was funny how the peach became a source of home, a stay, but also became a source of food. There were scenes of James just eating through his house and eating through the peach, and also other insects or creatures. And I saw, or at that time, what I thought was the funniest thing was centipedes. He's one of the characters in the book wearing 100 boots, and at that time I just found that hilarious. And also something a little bit scary was metal shark kind of eating off the peach while they're in the ocean, and then the most bizarre thing was men in the clouds manufacturing weather and stuff that kind of hindered James and his crew's flight. So all these very bizarre and magical and very creative sense just put like a different twist in my life. And then I finished the book, and I loved it so much that I ended up reading that same book 3 times over the summer. This book made me read, and reading ended up provoking this curiosity and imagination for me that I never thought I would experience. And this is all done through words. It was all done through me just kind of laying back on my bed or on my couch, and that was magical for me at this point in my life. It was through this book that I discovered my love for reading and writing. The second most influential book that I've read, and probably the book that I've read the most in my life, is The Life of Pi by Yann Martel. I have revisited this book through various parts of my life, and every time I pick this book up, I've read and I've kind of learned and found something very profound in my life. My first time reading was during high school in my English class, and I was initially drawn by the adventure and then the survival aspect of this book. And then my second time reading this, I was drawn by the different religion and different faith that was kind of present throughout this novel. This is around the time where I was really curious on my beliefs and religion as a whole. And then my most recent read was earlier this year in 2025. This is the last time I picked up this book, was in March of 2025, around that time. I approached this book more in an analytical and kind of focusing more in like a plot-driven critique at this time. I wanted to analyze the main character Pi and his motive and the character progression throughout the novel. I think my favorite part on the last read was kind of seeing how Yann Martel, the author, was able to transition Pi from this sweet, innocent boy who is, doesn't really know too much about life and fate to transition into, a man that is traumatized and desperate and knows a lot about life now. And I also enjoyed various symbolism and irony that was present throughout the novel. My favorite symbolism in this book was leaving behind this carnivorous island. This island used to be full of life during the day, but then as soon as the night came, it would kill and just, I don't know, suffocate the life out of the living things within the island altogether. At least for me, when reading this island kind of represented an easy and a comfortable life, but a life without a purpose. Pi determined to leave the island. He wanted something real, something purposeful, and then he fled or left the island to embrace a life with meaning, even though he had to suffer through trying to find that meaning. And I think for me, one very ironic part, one of my favorite part about this novel was how, Pi kind of he does find a way to follow and worship three different religion or a various different religion, but it's a little bit of contradictical in a way that, all these religion, they do end up kind of contradicting each other, but he kind of finds a beauty on being able to live with the contradiction altogether, which I really like. And yeah, that's a really strong theme of this book. The third most influential book in my life is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. This book is my second from his collection, and I will have to admit, if you've seen my other videos and other TikToks, you know how much I love Kazuo Ishiguro. I think he is my favorite author right now at this time. The way he is able to kind of find words, this word selection is absolutely phenomenal, especially in this novel. And he has this certain kind of sway or swag about, gracefully bragging that he knows more words than you do. But he never kind of puts it right in front of your face. He never infers that he knows more than you do. It's always in a very charming way, in a very swavy way, if that makes sense. I'll say this, a lot of his prose is quite slow, but with this novel, with this book, the story never feels slow or sluggish. It keeps the pace, and I think this is the perfect pace for this book altogether. I enjoy this novel a lot because it doesn't rely on a big plot twist to push the narrative. It's a slow burn, but it burns really nicely. Within this novel, I was really drawn to the theme of accepting your own fate. The character knowingly accepts their fate, and that fate is very grim. Instead of fighting or revolting against a grim fate that's waiting for you, they just kind of accept it, and they just live their life to the fullest within that limited time that they have within this world. Another favorite part about his writing is the usage of memory throughout the novel. It almost, every time I kind of pick up his book, I always feel like I am part of his work or I'm part of his writing. There's been few times where I've kind of almost hallucinated to an extent where I'm like, oh, are these my memories? I've kind of had mixed up memories. I think that's a testament of a very good writing. As a reader, you're able kind of having a hard distinction between your memory or a memory of the characters within the novel. And this is the kind of novel or kind of experience that I want to bring out to my readers somewhere down the line. I want to write like him. This novel gave me a sense of direction on how I want my writing to be. I want my writings to be filled with memories, nostalgia, misunderstanding, ton of reflection, and that's how I want my characters and my theme to kind of be based around. I guess reflecting back on these three books, not only have they entertained me, but they've shaped me as a person. They've shaped my views, my beliefs, my goals. James and the Giant Peach was able to take me out on a grand adventure to the comfort of my home. And it just kind of gave me a lifeline on seeing things differently. Seeing that, hey, reading is something that you could do, that you could enjoy. You don't have to play soccer 24/7. You can pick up a book and be equally entertained or even more entertained. The Life of Pi made me question life. It made me question my beliefs. It made me question what religion was, and it ended up kind of shaping me into a better person, I think. And Never Let Me Go gave me a direction that I want my books to be. And this is the reason why they are the most influential books in my life. I'm glad you stayed to the end. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to like and make a comment, and if you want to make a comment, please comment on what your top 3 most influential books are. Once again, thank you. This is Frank, and ciao.